everyone, and thank you all for coming out on this very hot evening, and all of you sitting at home also, probably the nicer, cooler place to be. Now, it gives me really great pleasure to introduce Dr. Karen Watts this evening from the Gold and Silver Wire Drawers Livery Company. Karen is the curator and archivist of the Worshipful Company of Gold and Silver Wire Drawers. She is also a visiting research fellow at the Postgraduate Institute for Medieval Studies at the University of Leeds, and particularly impressive, if I can pronounce the French correctly, she is a professeur de patrimoine et archéologie militaire, École de Louvre, Paris. That wasn't too bad, was it? And curator emeritus of the Royal Armouries Museum in Leeds. Now, Karen was the curator of an exhibition, a major exhibition, held at the Guildhall Art Gallery in London in 2023 to celebrate the 400th year since the Gold and Silver Wire Drawers were set up. And there is a catalogue, or there are catalogues, of this exhibition downstairs, which you can buy for £10, proceeds to charity. And most of Karen's talk is about this exhibition and these beautiful artifacts. So if we could welcome Karen for this evening.
Thank you very much, everybody. And hello to everybody online. I would like to thank, first of all, Zoe Morgan and Ian Gadd, the chairman, and the Bath Royal Literary and Scientific Institution for inviting me to speak to you today, and also to Rachel, Gary, James, Joe, and the technical support team who have facilitated it. So yes, we held this exhibition which commemorated the 400th anniversary of our first Royal Charter of Incorporation of 1623. And today I'm going to share with you the research and the treasures that we exhibited. We had a rare opportunity to examine these treasures close up. I have chosen themes from the exhibition that I think will interest you. I'm going to explore several themes today. First, the company and the livery, then the technology of wire drawing and the craftsmen embroiderers, royal regalia, and I'll conclude by considering the importance of wearing gold and silver to signify role, rank, and position by a viewing public. I should mention that although we are going to look at textiles and details of gold and silver embroidery, our company also incorporates jewellery and plate work, and the work of our extraordinarily talented freemen and liverymen are illustrated in that commemorative book. It's also available via the website from our clerk, who, as it happens, oh yes, it's, I have to press something. Yeah. He said press the pad if it's gone silent. Right. Splendid. It's not going to stop me talking, I can tell you. The livery companies of London are trade guilds who have, from the Middle Ages, maintained high standards of business conduct and product quality. Members of these companies are traditionally wear distinguishing livery robes. Each of these liveries companies are the worshipful company of a particular trade, and draws its members from those connected with or supportive of the relevant industry. Today, there are 113 livery companies, and they form one of the largest philanthropic movements in the world. With their 40,000 strong body of liverymen, their history stretching back over 700 years, and their ability to give to charitable causes over £70 million each year. Here you are looking at our clerk, David Utting, just assembling before the Lord Mayor's Parade. And here I am showing you the master, supported by his wardens and the clerk, in all of their livery robes. And the master this year is Tim McAndrews. I'm the fourth warden on the end. The clerk's robe is black. The masters and wardens are blue. Their badges are sterling silver and silver gilt, enamelled with the company's coat of arms with supporters, and the badges date from 1876 to 1958. In the Middle Ages, a livery company was like a training college with apprentices indentured to a master for about 7 years. They became freemen and then liverymen. They were regulated by a court of assistants and governed by wardens and a master, elected annually. Royal charters gave the companies legal rights and recognition to control their trade. This is still the organisation today. The Worshipful Company of Gold and Silver Wire Drawers was firmly established in London by the 15th century as a protected English trade. By the early 16th century, their status and position was so high that they worked directly for King Henry VIII, wire drawers accompanying the king in 1520 to the famous tournament, the Field of Cloth of Gold, named after its many gold-wired pavilions. The King's Book of Payments record payments to John Burton, wire drawer, for gold and embroidery for doublets for a gift for the French king. The gold and silver wire drawers continued to support this ancient wire trade of wire drawing. And by the way, wire with a Y is just an old spelling of wire with an I. Our major function today is charitable and to support the trade and provide the scholarships, grants, and awards. The gold and silver wire drawers provide awards for outstanding workmanship in the modern usage of gold and silver wire and thread, and seeks to encourage young people working with gold and silver wire to connect with the company. It continues today to support the trade, promoting scholarships and awards, the Royal School of Needlework, the Glasgow College of Art, the Guildhall School of Music, Goldsmiths Craft and Design Awards, Hand and Lock, Bishop's Land, St Paul's Cathedral, we support a chorister, the Royal Ballet School, as well as supporting the Lord Mayor and the City of London. So it has a primary function as a charitable works and supporting the future of our trade. And these two people represent the membership of the Livery Company. They represent the importance of knowledge transfer, and indeed a pathway into the company is still through apprenticeship. However, a 7-year apprenticeship is not the only way to join the company today. All are welcome, and if you're interested, by the way, please do contact our clerk. We are a very friendly company. On the left, you see Liz Elvin, who's formerly represents our liveryman and the former principal of the Royal School of Needlework. And on the right, you will see Kate Pankhurst, now a lecturer at the same school, and she represents the freeman of our company. And you can see that in the exhibition, she actually did demonstrations, as did many others of our freemen, of the work that they're doing. Now, not only do we wear the distinctive robes, but also badges of office. And here you see Past Master Catherine Carr with her chain of office. The Master's blue gown, heavily embellished with gold braid, is worn with the chain of office at banquets and state occasions. The Master's chain is gold, silver, enamel, steel, and blue ribbon. It was presented by Gabrielle Lindo, who was Master in 1889. The Master's chain of office is decorated with the coats of arms of the donor, the company, and the City of London, the Cross of St. George. The trade is symbolised by twisted gold and silver wire with crossed points that were used to clean the draw plates. The heavy chain is held by ribbons at the shoulder to avoid it slipping down. We also have the beadle, and this is Janet Scott. The beadle of a livery company is a ceremonial officer. His historic role was to enforce the trade policy and uphold discipline, especially amongst the company's apprentices. Nowadays, she acts as master of ceremony at formal banquets and to accompany the master on civic occasion. She takes an active role in the clothing out of a new liveryman during the court meetings. When marching through the street, she should always wear a tricorn hat and carry the mace, although I have yet to see the tricorn hat. This silver-capped wooden staff is one of the great treasures of the company, as it is the oldest representation of the coat of arms. This includes the shield, motto, and crest of the company. It measures 5 feet 10 inches. It was commissioned by the company in 1780 and cost the princely sum of £17 and 10 shillings. The beadle staff has been in constant use for 245 years and is used at every court meeting, dinner, banquet, and church proceedings. A seal matrix is used for making an impression on a wax seal to authenticate a document or to keep it closed. This seal matrix is cut with the company's coat of arms, supporters, and the motto. It was presented by Warden Nicholas Cunliffe, who became master in 1743, and it is dated to 1741. The first royal charter of James I in 1623 granted the right to a seal. Its importance and the powers granted under it were extensive. This included the right to search wire drawers' workshops with the assistance of a constable under the seal of the company and within the city, but also in every other place within the realm of England and Dominion of Wales. These powers were even extended to boarding ships. The importance of being seen and recognised. You can see the hat, which should always be worn. The man, and in black, of course, the clerk. Here they're in Zurich, but you can see them every year at the all-important Lord Mayor's Parade, which is, of course, as you know, an 800-year-old pageant. I am showing these processing and carrying badges of office as important signifiers of role, rank, and position, with the enhancement of gold and silver wire as a theme that we will explore. Now, the technology of wire drawing. Let's look at the tools of our trade. But cunning amusingly seen embroidered in gold and silver wire. This is our embroidered coat of arms made by 5 court assistants to commemorate the first royal charter of King James I, and it was made in 1923. It ingeniously demonstrates the range of techniques of drawn wire used in embroidery. Here are some details. The base fabric is pale grey, blue, gros grain silk fabric. The embroidery has the format of a traditional English sampler that evolved in the 18th century to show different needlework skills and was displayed on walls in the style of a painting. In the 19th century, the sampler format was increasingly used as models of professional work, as seen here. This is one of the finest examples of the 20th century gold and silver wirework. The Latin motto is an amusing pun, amicitiam trait amor, translated as love draws friendship. We had the second royal charter in 1693. And this banner is was a gift from us to St James Church, Gaelachythe, in the City of London, which is our company church. And it was dedicated at the annual service in 1993. It is a fine example of contemporary embroidery made by the Royal School of Needlework. And here, and there's the coat of arms, and here are some of the details from that coat of arms. So the tools of the trade that's seen embroidered, which amuses me. Here is the basic coat of arms. So we see the copper around which the wire was drawn, and 2 of these are borne in chief. The point, 2 of these crossed in saltire, are borne in base. The draw plate through which the wire has to pass, with this the chevron is charged, and 2 rings. And I should mention that when they made this, there is actually one error, because those 2 crossed points actually are shown as needles. They're pierced, and they shouldn't have been. So it is always interesting to note errors. Here we see St. Eligius, patron saint of goldsmiths, in his workshop, 1450, an engraving at the Rijksmuseum. Here the wire drawer is pulling up vertically with the aid of a windlass attached to his waist. More commonly, wire drawing was drawn horizontally. You will notice, this is a medieval monk from a German manuscript dated in 1533. You will notice that he is sitting on a swing. He swings forward, pulls back, swings forward, pulls back. Gold is has high ductility, enabling wire to be manufactured with the aid of the draw plate. The oldest clear description of the method are the 12th century De Diversis Artibus by Theophilus Presbyter and the 16th century De la Pyrotechnica by Vanuccio Biringuccio. The earliest known draw plates date to about the 6th century. Here is a draw plate belonging to one of our trade freeman, Tom Scott, and it is dated 1771, and he uses it, which is extraordinary. So from the charter, we controlled, and I quote, the trade, art and mystery of drawing and flatting of gold and silver wire, and making and spinning of gold and silver thread and stuff in our city of London. And stuff means cloth, from the French word étoffe. Drawing wire needs skill, and the wire produced can be surprisingly varied. A bar is drawn through a series of smaller and smaller holes in the draw plate. It can be drawn out to the fineness of a human hair. The manufactured gold and silver wire is not an end product, but a means to another end, the production of gold and silver covered thread used for ceremonial garments, ecclesiastical vestments, uniforms, performing arts, and virtuoso artworks. There is a complex terminology describing the different forms of silver threads. Bullion and pearl are made from very fine wires wound into a tubular shape. This type of metal thread was traditionally used for European military and diplomatic uniforms, especially down the fronts of jackets and on the epaulettes and hats. Bassementerie is a term used for fringes, gimps, ornamental cords, tassels, trims, and so forth that are sewn down onto garments. In the 16th century, this word had a more specific meaning of trimmings of gold and silver lace. Twist is a form of metal thread made up of 2 or more strands twisted together and used in applied decoration. Pearl is a metal thread made from tightly coiled wires which look like a strand of gold pearls. This type of metal thread is often used to outline designs or in combination with other couched threads as a filling for designs. Passing is a form of thread used in embroidery, consisted of thin strips of metal wound around the silk-threaded core, and flattened wire is especially used to make embroidery thread. So the point being that you can draw the wire, and now you have a section of coiled wire. But you don't just deal with that. You can then twist it and make it into a thick coil. You can flatten it and join the two ends together so you've made a tube. And of course, what you can do is you take several silk threads and you spirally wrap around the flattened wire, which looks like a ribbon, and that allows you to embroider. So it is the gold is wrapped around silk threads to embroider. And of course, you can also, once you've got the tight coil, you can flatten it and cut it, and you've got a series of what looks like sequins that have a little cut edge into them, and we will see several examples of these. So here you can see the plate with its various progressively smaller holes. And of course, you don't have to make just circular wire. As you can see here, this is an advanced draw plate, which allows you to draw wire in different forms. Here is the detail showing a wire drawn through the plate, and the date in passing, and a hand spinner, so you can put several wires together, turn the handle, and they'll all spin round together and make a multiple strand spun wire. This was lent to us by Hand and Lock. Here's a view from the exhibition showing the regalia. The regalia that you see were supplied by trade companies who mostly still exist today. For example, the Orders of Chivalry costumes were from Eden Ravenscroft, and look at the badges attached to the Orders of Chivalry. Samples of braid made by Hand and Lock. And I'm now going to show you some close-up macro photography of different drawn wire that shows embroidery techniques with different types of gold wire that I've been talking about. There, you can see those, what look like sequins are in fact technically called spangles, and the flattened wire and the beaded, twisted wires, all creating an amazing effect, which you can see and you can appreciate because you're looking at it close up. And there, extraordinary. You can see how you can just take the tubes and then lay it very carefully. The skill and the craftsmanship is extraordinary here. And you may be wondering what these are. They were there. So it goes to show that you see this from a distance, but if you come up close, the skill of it enables the light, as they're processing in their robes, the light will hit them, and so they will sparkle because of the effects created by this detailed work. Now, embroidery is not the only thing you can do with the gold and silver wire. Of course, you can weave it, of course, into gold cloth or cloth of gold, that it is called, and something that we will look at in a moment, opus anglicanum. I'm now going to look at the trade and the manufacturers. Oh, this is an example of how the wire is wound around the silk cords. And on the picture on your right, there's just a tiny split where you can just glimpse the silk threads inside. And the one on the right is medieval. So, the trade and manufacturers. London has been a historic and creative centre for the production of the finest gold and silver wire used in ceremonial dress for state occasions and civic ceremonial events. First, Firmin & Sons, founded in 1655, the oldest manufacturing company in the UK, Thomas Firmin was apprenticed to the Girdlers Company and then set up business in 3 King's Court, London, and then rebuilt it after the Great Fire of London. From modest beginnings as button makers, they designed and supplied ceremonial parade dress and military uniforms, and they continue to be the warrant holders for the, quote, manufacture of insignia, buttons and accessories, and they are now incorporated with Cashket and partners. Eden Ravenscroft, London's oldest tailor and robe maker, was founded in 1689. The present name dates from 1903 and a result of the inheriting of the business by Joseph Ede and then merging with wig maker Ravenscroft. The company holds royal warrants as robe makers for King Charles III and previously for Queen Elizabeth II and the Queen Mother. And even Ede and Ravenscroft were generous lenders to the exhibition. We are especially grateful, in fact, to one of them, to Chris Allen from the company, who not only arranged the loan, but came especially to dress them correctly. He has been the royal dresser for over 40 years. Hand and Lock, also a great lender to the exhibition, was founded in London in 1767 by M. Hand, who was a Huguenot refugee who was skilled in working with gold lace. Stanley Locke bought an embroidery company in 1956. They merged, embroidering the royal barge banners for Queen Elizabeth's Diamond Jubilee celebrations. And they received the royal warrant as embroiderers and suppliers of military accoutrements to Her Majesty the Queen. Today, Hand and Lock teach and promote the fine art of embroidery, especially in gold and silver wire. Revel and Rossiter were a London couture house and court dressmaker to Queen Mary. It gained the royal warrant in 1910. They closed in the 1930s. The Princess Louise School of Needlework, or Needlework School rather, developed into the Royal School of Needlework, and it began operating in a small room above a bonnet shop in Sloane Street, London, initially employing 20 ladies. And it was founded by Princess Louise, daughter of Queen Victoria. The extraordinary Ladies' Work Society was also founded by Princess Louise. This helped women who had fallen into poverty by teaching embroidery, repairing fine art items and needlework, and to aid them in earning a living. So not only did she provide the skills, but what I think is wonderful is that she also provided the shop for them to sell their wares in Sloane Street. And finally, Charles Smith and Sons of Piccadilly, established after 1843, were gold lacemen and military embroiderers, and therefore of the trade of the Worshipful Company of Gold and Silver Wire Drawers. And we're now going to look at some of the treasures that illustrate this technology. Wonderful. We're going to look at 4 of these treasures. The first one is the Fishmonger's Pall, or the Fishmonger's Hearse-cloth, 1515, and it is owned by the Worshipful Company of Fishmongers. These hearse-cloths, palls, were traditionally used for covering distinguished liverymen's coffins. The Fishmongers Company is one of the oldest of the livery companies of the City of London, receiving its royal charter in 1272. For over 750 years, it has stood on the banks of the River Thames, playing a leading role in upholding the standards of the trade of fish and shellfish. In England in the Middle Ages, a unique style of embroidery called opus Anglicanum, which is Latin for English work, was first used in the 13th century to describe the highly prized and luxurious embroideries made in England of silk and gold and silver thread, with astonishing elaborate imagery, and this was appreciated throughout the known Western world and exported widely. The elaborate imagery here includes mermen, mermaids, the company coat of arms, as well as Christ and St. Peter. And now let's look at a merman and an even closer detail of him. magnificent work. And of course, you can see how you've got the raised work of the gold work in the background. And I'm now going to show you some microscopic images of it that allows you to see how it is constructed. So you've got the threads that are wrapped around, the silk threads wrapped around with gold, and then couched down with threads to hold it in place. And on the left it's from the sword, and on the right from the background that, that you saw there, and then from the sword. It's astonishing how you can create these effects. It's simulating in the cloth the weaving over the top of the weaving. It's just, it's wonderful. The mermaid. The mermaid is glorious. And here is a closer detail. And what is extraordinary about the mermaid is that not only does she have these wonderful golden locks, but she holds a mirror, and the image in the mirror is also made of gold threads. It's also embroidered. It's extraordinary. And we also have an angel here. And we're going to look at the lower left-hand corner at a close detail, showing you how you can achieve the feathering of the feathers, the ostrich feathers in the middle, and folds in the cloth as it is worn. I mean, that is extraordinary. It is just the most wondrous work. We're now going to look at the Bacton altar cloth. Now, the Bacton altar cloth, 1590 to about 1610, which belongs to St Faith's Church, Bacton in Herefordshire, and the Gold and Silver Wiredrawers Company contributed to the cost of its conservation by the Royal School of Needlework at Hampton Court. This is the only surviving dress of Queen Elizabeth I, and it was given to Blanche Parry, who was chief gentlewoman and keeper of Her Majesty's jewels. Parry, who never married, remained devoted to Elizabeth and was her longest-serving courtier for 56 years before retiring to the village of Bacton. There the dress, and this is why it survived, the dress was recycled into an altar cloth. It is made of cream-coloured silk and Indian cloth and silver, elaborately embroidered in silk, silver and gold thread, which was stitched directly over the fabric, indicating expert workmanship. Cloth of silver was under sumptuary law reserved for members of the royal family, which was an early indicator of its origin. And the Bacton altar cloth is decorated with flowers and animals, including butterflies, birds, deers, dogs, and even a bear. There are also narrative stories, including one where it seems a sea creature is attacking a fisherman. Now, this was supposedly discovered in fairly recent times when an art historian went down to St Faith's Church and discovered it, and it went into all the press, and it was suddenly the most wonderful discovery ever, except the people of Bacton, who were furious because they always knew they had it. They always knew it was Blanche Parry's. It was no surprise to them. So the only thing that they didn't know was that it was unique. There were no other dresses of Queen Elizabeth I. So this is why this is wonderful, because it is the only survivor, and it only survived because it was recycled. Importance of recycling. We're going to look at some glorious details. I couldn't choose, so you're going to see several of them. There's this. Yeah, no, you haven't touched it. I have looked at it very, very closely as it was being installed. And by the way, we always wear gloves, obviously. But yes, it was. I have seen it close up outside of the glass case. There's a sea monster who is attacking a fisherman. There is some silver work on it. Now, it has been suggested that there were two different hands, that men made the flowers, which were taken from books, and then the spaces in between were secondly filled in by ladies. It has been suggested court ladies, and even by Blanche Parry herself. And you can see that you have got around the sides little animals, the dog, the butterfly, and the worm. I was surprised at the worms. It wasn't till, of course, somebody else said to me, but they're silkworms. Of course they're silkworms, that's why they're there. So yes, you can see many more examples of them. They've faded a bit, but surprisingly, the reds, which is why I showed you some of them with the reds are the colours that always fade first. So surprisingly, it is in good condition, but it is held. It is now on permanent loan to Hampton Court, where it is held in very careful conditions and not often brought out on display. So it's a rare chance that you can see it, and in very low light. So in fact, you're seeing it better than it was in the exhibition. It's the pupae of yes. It's a larva, isn't it? Yes, it's a caterpillar. Yes. No, thank you for correcting me on that. Yes, it just obviously I had started from the point of view of thinking it was a worm, whereas no, and I know, of course, it's not easy because we refer to it as a silkworm, still using the word worm attached to it. But yes, thank you for that comment. Here you can see the plants and the flowers with the filling of the plants in between. And I'm going to show you a detail that might help with this identification. So you can see a stag on the left and a squirrel on the right. Now, the squirrel was embroidered after the plant was embroidered. So this supports the theory of a two-stage embroidery. Now, we're going to look at some costumes owned by famous people, which is another reason for their survival, which is one of the things that interest me, how things survive. So we're now going to look at Charles Dickens' court suit and his dress sword, 1870, which belongs to the Charles Dickens Museum, and a photograph of Charles Dickens by Herbert Watkiss also belongs to the Charles Dickens Museum. This is the only known surviving suit worn by Charles Dickens, and it's a ceremonial court dress for a levee, a fashionable royal reception for gentlemen. He wore it on April the 6th, 1870 at St James's Palace, hosted by the Prince of Wales, future Edward VII, and never wore it again. The court suit was made to measure, so that's lovely because it reveals the size and shape of Charles Dickens better than any portrait. His waist was 34 inches, which is quite impressive for a 58-year-old. His height was 5 feet 9 inches. In the bottom, you can see, showing visitors the suit, is Mark Dickens, the great-great-great-great-grandson of Charles Dickens. Mark is a liveryman of our company and a former clerk. The suit was supplied by Charles Smith and Sons, which is why I mentioned them earlier. It has a wool fabric in the coat, trousers and breeches, gold embroidery at the cuffs, back and collar. There is gold trim along the edge of the trousers. I carefully looked all over the suit and the sword to conform my tentative identification that the ensemble was supplied by Charles Smith. And finally, it's on the back of the button. So that was quite a nice piece of research and identification. This is the ballet costume worn by Darcy Bussell. It was worn by Darcy Bussell in Frederick Ashton's Sylvia, reconstructed by Christopher Newton in 2004 and was lent to us by the Royal Ballet School. It takes the form of an imperial Russian classical 19th century tutu with a panelled pink bodice. The skirt is made in white neck and the overlay is pink satin with gold wire embroidery in a traditional Greek key pattern. Frederick Ashton originally created the ballet Sylvia to showcase the talents of prima ballerina Dame Margot Fonteyn. However, the ballet was lost and was reconstructed for Darcy Bussell by Christopher Newton in 2004. The ballet is technically difficult with Ashton's fast, intricate and exacting footwork, which was the trademark of that particular choreographer. And Darcy Bussell was perfect for the role because she had elegant long limbs and she had that technical brilliance and precision. So what you have to imagine here is under theatre lights, how the gold reflects off it and why it is so important to actually have real gold work attached to it, not just painted gold work, because as she spins, it's going to catch the light and sparkle outwards, and reflect outwards. Here are some details. Showing again those spangles that look like sequins, and details of the twisted coils, and Darcy Bussell wearing it. We're now going to look at royal regalia. And you're looking at the state coronation portrait of Queen Mary by Sir William Samuel Llewellyn, 1911 to 12, and King George and Queen Mary in their state robes after the coronation ceremony in 1911. So this dress is seen installed in the exhibition here. Now, I use this particular image because new discoveries are made all the time. It was only as this dress was being installed by these conservators from the Royal Collection that it was revealed that the dress had a secret, a hidden pocket that cannot be seen externally. Which is really quite extraordinary. It is down the front, it's not down the sides, it's not down a seam, it is cut down the front, right, a very tiny slit, and there is a pocket behind, and it's only because the girls were lifting it over their heads that they saw that it had the pocket inside. So, of course, we've had plenty of speculation as to what you put in the pocket. It is made of, now let's look at it installed. It is made of cream-coloured silk satin and embroidered with gold thread and tiny gilt metal beads. The sleeves are of handmade gold bobbin lace. So it was worn by Queen Mary at the coronation of King George V at Westminster Abbey on the 22nd of June 1911. Designed by Revel and Rossiter, company I mentioned earlier, and decorated by the Princess Louise Needlework School and the Ladies' Work Society. So it shows, and again, it's a point that I'm going to make, of course, is that embroidery is in a collaborative process very often. The Ladies' Work Society sadly no longer exists. So it was only for the early part of the 20th century. But they were in a shop in Sloane Street in London. And neither, in fact, of course, as does the Princess Louise Needlework School. It has all now become the Royal School of Needlework, which is currently at Hampton Court. So here are some details of the embroiderers. They use gold thread in a symbolic design of English oak leaves and acorns, the Tudor rose, Scottish thistle, Irish shamrock, and the lotus and star of India, and a border of waves at the hem representing the oceans connecting the British Empire. So all of Britain was represented, and the empire. This is Queen Elizabeth II's coronation. We're on the theme of coronation here. Queen Elizabeth's coronation glove, worn during the coronation ceremony at Westminster Abbey on the 2nd of June, 1953. And it belongs to the Worshipful Company of Glovers and the Glove Collection Trust. It is leather, silk, and gold thread embroidery. The glove maker was Dent. The company was founded by John Dent in 1772, and the leather supplier was Pittard's, and the embroidery was done by the Royal School of Needlework. And it was presented to the Queen by the Worshipful Company of Glovers. The cuff has a design of symbolic roses, shamrocks, thistles, and acorns worked in gold thread embroidery with the strips and the in the gold thread. The glove is decorated with the royal cipher on the back of the hand, E2R, under St. Edward's crown. Now, I'm showing you only one glove, because only one glove is worn during the crowning of a British monarch, who holds the royal sceptre in the right hand. It has been part of the coronation ceremony since that of Richard II in 1377. Historian Thomas Fuller, writing in 1655, stated that the white colour of the glove is a symbol of purity and integrity, and intended to recall the virtues of an Anglo-Saxon king, Edward the Confessor. It also bears a second meaning as a reminder of holding power, symbolised in the royal sceptre, held gently in a gloved hand. So, yes, remarkable gold thread embroidery. And here is Queen Elizabeth II enthroned at Westminster Abbey, London, after having been crowned. And King Charles III also wore a single glove at his coronation. At his coronation on the 6th of May, 2023, the coronation glove was presented to His Majesty King Charles III by Lord Inderput Singh of Wimbledon. His Majesty the King decided to reuse the coronation glove made for the coronation of his grandfather, King George VI, in the interest of sustainability and efficiency. It had also been presented by the Worshipful Company of Glovers and made by Dents, and embroidered by Edward Stilwell and Company in 1937. And here is the colour photograph of the coronation of Elizabeth II, showing perhaps more clearly. And now we're going to look at a mystery object. We have one object that has unique symbolism. The first question, of course, is what is it? This is, as it is, completely opened out and presented. And I'm now going to show you, as it is worn. Oh, so I'm going to show you a detail, first of all, showing the original drawing, and as it is worn. There, you get an idea. It's still not completely draped over a human, but it is stretched out, and it is a cope. It's part of the vestments that are worn. It's a long cloak. From the 14th century, ecclesiastical vestments were often produced in embroidery workshops in London, the finest being close to Old St. Paul's. Opus Anglicana was in huge demand. And the English Reformation of the 1530s had a damaging impact upon embroidery, with lavish vestments being destroyed, hidden, taken abroad, or reused as furnishings. Here, what you see here are the spires of 73 churches in the Diocese of London, shown alongside 3 royal peculiars and 1 house, and St. Paul's Cathedral. So who designed it and who made it? It was this lady, Beryl Dean. It was designed by an inspirational textile designer, Beryl Dean, and made by her embroidery students at the Stanhope Institute. In response to concerns that textile skills were diminishing, she lectured and taught widely, establishing new interest in ecclesiastical embroidery. She was known for rejecting the traditional Victorian designs and creating her own contemporary embroidery designs. So this is important because one of the things that is interesting is transfer of knowledge, it's transfer of skills without losing these terribly special and specialized skills. So every now and then you have somebody who comes up and gathers a group of students around them and says, let me pass this on, let me inspire you. And so you can see her working there, and here are her students and associates, including a young Liz Elvin that we saw earlier, working on the cope. It required 6,015 hours of work by 36 embroiderers. It's embroidered in 18-karat gold thread and silk onto a silk organza, which was then applied to a cream woolen base. And here is another view of the embroiderers all working on the same Jubilee cope. I'm going to tell you a story now. I have got time to tell a quick story. Because it emerged out of the exhibition, because you learn as much from the visitors who come and share their experiences and stories. And one of the visitors was one of the young students who had worked on making the Jubilee cope. So each of them was given by Beryl Dean a church to do, and they were given all the materials that they needed, and they had to go away and make it and bring it back, and the whole thing was then assembled. Now, by all accounts, Beryl Dean, whilst a wonderful inspirational teacher, was also somewhat intimidating. And this particular student worked for several months on this, producing this perfect church, and she came into London to bring it in for it to be assembled, and she lost it on the train. She searched and she couldn't find it. It had just gone and vanished. So she continued her journey, and in some trepidation told Beryl Dean that she had lost it. And Beryl Dean said, "That's all right. Don't worry. You've got 2 weeks to do it again." And she did. So that is a wonderful story. So we're now going to see Beryl Dean with the Bishop of London, because it was made for him, the Right Reverend Gerald Ellison, in his new cope in 1977. It was presented to the Diocese of London to commemorate the Queen Elizabeth II's Silver Jubilee, and was first worn at a special Thanksgiving service at St. Paul's Cathedral on the 7th of June 1977. It has been worn on many occasions since, and is still worn by the Bishop of London when they officiate at special services, though not the present Bishop of London because she's too short. In the exhibition, we decided to show the costumes as worn because that was important, rather than completely spread out as a work of art. What's important is that these are working clothing. So we wanted to show these things as worn. And here are some glorious details. No, it's owned by St. Paul's Cathedral. So it is owned and kept by St. Paul's Cathedral. The only building that wasn't a church is this house here with the rectangular windows. As an amusing thing, they put their own educational institution in it. That is the Stanhope Institute. Now, we're going to look at dress. Finally, I'm going to conclude with dress for role, rank, and position. The idea of processing to be seen and recognized. I'm going to use two pendant paintings which fascinatingly show the public presentation of various uniforms, vestments, and official dress. This is the reception of George V and Queen Mary at the west door of Westminster Cathedral. You can see there's a following theme here. On Jubilee Day, 6th of May, 1935, painted by Frank O. Salisbury, purchased from the artist by the Guildhall Art Gallery. And we're going to look at the two figures, the two extreme figures on the right and the left. Obviously, in the centre, you can see the King and the Queen, and you may recognise the two little girls in pink, of which the elder one is going to become Queen Elizabeth II. And this is how we showed them in the exhibition, those two sets of figures that we're going to show left and right. And first, we're going to study the figures over on the two on your left. A herald's scarlet coatee and the herald's tabard, lent by Eden Ravenscroft. A herald's tabard is made using silk satin as the base. A king's coat of arms tabard is made from velvet and a poursuivant's tabard from damask. The scarlet style of coatee, which is on the far left, was worn by officers of the College of Arms and introduced in 1849 by Queen Victoria. Now, what's extraordinary is that the coatee on the far right is worn underneath the tabard. It is never seen. And we displayed it with the tabard next to it so that you could admire it. It's extraordinary because the workmanship is incredible. You sometimes just spot the cuff. It is emblazoned, obviously, the tabard with the coat of arms in gold thread. And the tabard is worn at the state opening of Parliament, at the annual Order of the Garter Service, and the coronation, and was, of course, worn at the coronation of King Charles III. Here you can see it. And the extraordinary detail of the coatee, showing how important it is, not only the fabulous technique, but the direction in which you choose to attach and couch down the gold threads, because it gives an impression of movement. It's wonderful. And depth. Here are the state trumpeters in the painting and in front of the Guildhall last year. State dress was worn by trumpeters as early as 1691 and has not differed to the present day. The gold state coat is only worn in the presence of members of the royal family or in the City of London in the presence of the Lord Mayor. And here we have two coats of state trumpeters, 20th and 21st century, made by Firmin and Sons Limited. The coats are of crimson velvet, lavishly overlaid with strips of broad gold lace, which mostly obscures the velvet. The gold state coats are worn with a sword belt. of gold and white with gilt metal fittings. The only visible modification is the royal cipher and the crown in a gold lace worn at the front and back of the coat. So E.R. Regina II and Charles Rex III. I have to say that in the exhibition, we had to take out the trumpeters' coats so that they could actually be used at the coronation at an important royal occasion. So we had to wait for it to come back again. And here are incredible details of it. The other painting I wanted to show you is the Heart of the Empire, a depiction of the 1935 Thanksgiving service, still at St. Paul's Cathedral, made in 1935 by the same painter, Franco in Salisbury. And what I want you to look at is not the King and Queen, but the figures just in the centre. That one. Because what you're looking at is the ceremonial robe of state, and it is made of black silk robe with a train fully embellished with handmade gold plate lace, gold robe ornaments, and with shoulders embroidered with the acorn and oak leaf design. It emerged in the 17th century, with the current design being established in the Victorian era. And so you can see that he is holding a burse, that is to say, a purse, a rectangular purse, which opens up at the top and has something mysterious inside, but he is deliberately showing it. So he's deliberately holding out in front of him. Here are some details, credible details of the gold wire work. And this is my final object. The burse held inside the Great Seal of England, made of silver. And it was held by the Lord Keeper, Sir Orlando Bridgeman. It is decorated with gold and silver wire in couched work and has the crowned royal cipher and the letters CR, Carolus Rex, for King Charles II. So this ceremonial bag contained the Great Seal and would have been carried publicly in procession in London as a symbol of royal authority. Now, Sir Orlando was the son of a Protestant bishop. He had refused to apply the seal to the Declaration of Indulgence, which he felt offered too much equality to persons of Catholic faith, was obliged to resign and was given the burse and silver seal. You might wonder what happened to the silver seal. Silver seal was melted down and used to create a larger stem cup out there on the right with an image of the burse on the front of it. The portrait is that of Sir Orlando Bridgeman in his robes of office with the burse of the Great Seal, and the burse and the portrait belong to the Western Park Foundation. So I'm now going to come full circle to show you some lovely macro photographs of the burse that confirm the varied ways in which gold and silver wire are used artistically and symbolically. I'm in awe of the craft and technology and the wonderful skill of these embroiderers. I have to say that when this arrived, it was astonished me. If you had given me all the materials, and if you assume that I have all the skills, which I don't, I wouldn't know where to start. That was the thing. It's an incredible section of overlaying designs, and the three-dimensional creativity of it is astounding. It is highly raised work. So here is the detail. And now I've done it as an up view so that you can see that it is raised work, substantially raised work. So that you've got the coat of arms and the crown, and you've actually got two crossed silver swords going through underneath it. And they're completely embroidered. But once you've placed the raised crown work over the top, you can't see them. It's extraordinary. This is the unicorn, showing how you've created the effects with these pearl, these tightly coiled wires. Now look at from the side how much it is raised up. Here is the lion, and obviously this is in gold work with his mane, giving an impression of an actual moving mane, which is extraordinary. Here it is shown the other way to show you what the whole lion looks like. And finally, one should always finish a lecture with a smile, and I should always hope that we leave with a good humour. So here is the smile of the lion. Thank you very much. Thank you
very much. Thank you. Now, any questions? Oh, lots and lots. Let me bring the microphone. Oh, here's Dave. I'm going to look to see if there's anyone online. Can I say my question first?
Yes.
How do you get from the gold to the thread? You know, where does the gold come from? Is it delivered in a lump and it's then melted down?
Yes, that's a very good question. Yeah. It is, in fact, a billet of gold where you have drawn the end out into a point. That's your starting positions. That's what gets delivered to you. But of course it is highly ductile, and so you just heat it, warm it, and you apply a pair of pliers to the end that is drawn out, and you start pulling through the gold, through the draw plate, and then onto a bobbin behind you so that it wires up.
And where do you buy the gold from? Are you still buying gold?
Oh,
or
yes.
Do you have enough?
Oh yes, no. We still have manufacturers of gold who will supply you with
from the gold.
Yes, I mean one of the great companies who were liverymen of the companies were Blundell and Sons, and they were producing wire drawing, and Ken Blundell, who was past master, there is a photograph of him showing us a young lad actually drawing the wire. So there are still, I do gather, however, that gold is rather expensive these days.
Could I just ask you, how do you prevent the silver from tarnishing when it's on an embroidery?
Oh yes, that is always a problem. It is a great conservation issue on how to clean the silver. You do have to use very precise, fine tools. Of course, it is obviously always kept in atmospheric conditions that are dark, and you have to, because they're on a base textile, of course, you worry about the textiles rotting if they get moist. So you've got multiple issues of conservation today that are extremely difficult. And indeed, the Queen Mary coronation gown will never be displayed again because the base fabric is rotting. and they have to stabilize it by just keeping it level and in the dark. But you can apply very fine cleaning tools to clean the silver. And these days, of course, you can actually coat the silver to a certain extent. Silver still needs to be cleaned. I had to bring over several of my students from the École du Louvre, and their first job was to clean all the company silver. Next question.
I wasn't quite clear. What is the officer who holds the burse and has that particular, is it the Lord Privy Seal? Is it the Lord Chancellor? Who is it that...
Yeah, he was called the Lord Keeper traditionally.
Right.
That was his title. But yes, he is it's a chancellor type role and is still worn by chancellors, whether a university or judicial. They're still wearing today those self-same robes which indicate that particular rank. Thank you. Anybody else? Could you mind passing the microphone forward?
Do they do this type of work in other countries still, or is it a uniquely British thing?
Oh, this is really very interesting because I happened to be in France for the build-up of the coronation, of the funeral first. And I was in France for the funeral of Queen Elizabeth II and the coronation of King Charles III. And they were astonished in France that such vestments and such clothing and uniforms could be made, because they do have the skills, but not on the scale that we have them in this country. We are highly specialized. And when I went to view the workshops of, for example, Hand and Lock, they were making gold and silver wire work for ceremonial robes around the world, because we were famed for it from the 13th century with our Opus Anglicanum, and we still are today. It's one of our great skills.
Yeah, the current Lion and Unicorn are very, very different from the ones on them. When did the change happen?
Oh, it is something that if you're interested in heraldry and knowledgeable, I have been astonished by how each royal coat of arms subtly changes throughout for each monarch. So this one was Charles II, but they subtly alter and change with each monarch, who even can have the right to choose the differing crown that is worn over the top. So that's why you've actually got two different crowns. When you look at just the cipher of Elizabeth II and Charles III, it's two different crowns.
I was actually involved in some of the coronation stuff.
Oh.
So don't talk to me about the change of crown. It was an absolute nightmare.
There you go, I can believe it.
How many students are there at the Royal School of Needlework? I mean, and how do they get chosen? Are there lots of, you never hear of anyone actually doing much embroidery?
They continue to work, and including indeed for the coronation. They were the ones, remember the embroidering for part of the anointing screen during the ceremony. No, it is one of the central embroidery schools of the country. It is a place at the Royal School of Needlework is highly prized. They do courses for all of us. So it is my dream to be able to do one of the courses at the Royal School of Needlework for people who have limited embroidery skills, such as myself. So you can do a number of courses in different types of embroidery, not just gold thread embroidery, but it is a school that is thriving and flourishing. So, and currently at Hampton Court, that is where it is based.
If I were Charles Dickens and wanted to buy that suit today, how much would you estimate it would cost me?
Oh, yes, it was, yes, the one thing I don't know, although I should perhaps ask Mark Dickens, and perhaps the Dickens Museum may know the exact cost of it. It was a phenomenal cost because it had to be made to measure, and it included stockings and breeches, and it was, and as I said, of course, had to be made to measure for this one afternoon's wear. And, you know, there is a letter that he wrote in which he mentions the fact that he is, you know, that he's got this, you know, this event, this levee to go to, and this, you know, this glorious suit. It must have, I mean, it costs a lot to have a suit made to measure today. It must have cost considerably more then, because of course it had so much detailed work on it in terms of all the gold braid. But yeah, yes, it amuses me no end. But of course it is also a reason why it was kept, because it became a precious object and a symbolic and significant object, rather than, if you look at other photographs of him, he was fairly, I would say, fairly casual in his dress, in his dress sense. But this was obviously one occasion where he did something that was against his normal attitude and dress up, and clearly enjoyed it, so much so that it was kept within the family all of this time until it was presented to the Dickens Museum.
I've got some questions from online.
Mm-hmm.
Also, as well as this question, loads of people have been thanking you for your interesting talk.
Thank you.
Yes, now, someone is asking, where are the threads manufactured now? Are there still enough thread makers to supply the demand of the stitchers?
Yes, there are various different companies who provide gold thread. There was a point at which there is a type of thread which was called Japanese thread, which was also a technique that originated in Japan. Some of it today does come from abroad, but I honestly don't know to what extent. But there are certainly plenty of thread makers working today to provide the gold thread to do the work, provided that you have the money to purchase it.
And someone else is asking, which in fact I thought, are these clothes very heavy?
Yes, yes they are. Absolutely, they're very, very heavy. Except for perhaps the tutu of Darcy Bustle. Because that wasn't, that is, and it was perfectly tailored and again shaped and specifically made for her. That's the only costume, but all the rest of this, if you're talking about ceremonial robes, they are extremely heavy to wear. And also you need to practice wearing them, because once you are putting these robes on, you have a completely different stance and a different way, a way of walking. And always remember that in some of them, you have a train. So you have to be careful how you're going up and down stairs in the train and turning. There is a technique of kicking with your ankle very delicately so that you turn the train with your whole body as you walk. So yes, there is practice and skill in wearing these clothes.